this village, there were landlords, a few, and many landless, maybe 3 or 4 landlord families, and maybe about 40 landless families. And landless people were very poor, and landlords were very rich. So there was a lot of conflict going on. And at one point, there were riots. And one landlord was killed by the landless people. And many landless people were arrested. Police was in the village. So one Gandhian worker wrote to Vinoba and said, we have this conflict and police and landlords and landless, what can we do? Can you come and help us? And so Vinoba said, yes, I heard about it. I read in the news. I'll come, but I'll walk to your village. So the man wrote to him and said, well, you walk, it will take you 2 weeks to walk here. We want you urgently. He said, no, I'll walk. So from his ashram, his community, he walked to Telangana and arrived in the evening. And next morning, he went to these 40 landless people in the village and said, what do you really want? How long? I mean, you can't live in conflict and violence forever with your landlords. What is the solution? What do you want? We want land. Now, how can you get land from landlords? All right. How much land do you want? So we have 40 families. If minimum of 2 acres of land every family has, we will be in peace and we'll work for the landlords and we'll do whatever they want us to do. All right. In the evening, he called a meeting of landlords and landless together in the village school. And he said that landlords, you need these landless people to work on your land. You can't live in the conflict forever. And I went to these people. They are prepared to make peace with you and work for you for the rest of their lives. But they need 80 acres of land. So that when there is no harvest, there is no season for work, they can still have some land, they can build their house, they can have their sort of village school, they can have something, they can have life. Very reasonable. But landlords giving land, can you imagine giving land in India? You can give money, you can give food, you can give anything else, but land. There was a stunned silence. But after a few minutes, one landlord, his name was Rama Chandra Reddy. Rama in his name, can you imagine? God's name in his name. He stood up and he said, I hear, Vinoba, you are a saintly man, a Gandhian leader, and you have come from all the way walking from your ashram, 2 weeks of walking, this penance that you have made for our peace in this village. What a wonderful example you are. I'm very inspired. I'm very moved. I am prepared to donate 100 acres of land to the village people. Wow. They were asking 80 acres and landlord is prepared to give 100 acres. He said, I'll give 20 acres extra so they can have a common land, but they can have their village hall, they can have their village, they can have their well, they can have something else. Amazing. Landlords were very happy. Landless were very happy. So Vinoba said, but this land will be given to these village people, but they will not own it. You cannot own the land. New example. You cannot own the sunshine, you can own the cannot own the air, you cannot own the water, you cannot own 5 elements or 4 elements. You cannot own the land. So land will be held in common as a village property, but each family will have 2 acres as long as they want to cultivate. And if they want to stop cultivating, then the village community should decide what to do with the land. But you cannot sell it. You cannot do anything else other than growing food. With that condition, the 40 families got 2 acres of land. That night, Vinoba could not sleep. He was so inspired, so touched, so moved, but also thinking that the whole country has the same problem. There are few very, very big landlords and millions of landless people, untouchables, low caste, outcast, living out of the villages. Mahatma Gandhi started a movement to remove untouchability. But unless they have a land, they will remain poor. How can you help the millions of them? So Vinoba said, I'm not going to go back to my community, my ashram. I'm going to walk from here all over India and ask landlords like I did today to give land for the poor. When Nehru, the Prime Minister of India in Delhi, heard this news in the newspapers, landlord giving land, 100 acres of land, and Vinoba walking to the village, and now Vinoba deciding to walk all over the country, Nehru wrote to Vinoba and sent a messenger saying, our Prime Minister is very impressed with your action, and he wants you to come and advise the government. And so please come, Prime Minister is sending you a special private jet. Vinoba said, no, I'm not taking private jet, I'm not taking train, I'm not taking car. I will respect the invitation of the Prime Minister, and I will walk from this village, which took him more than 2 months. Prime Minister had to wait for his appointment for 2 months. Anyway, he walked. And along the way, every village where he stopped asked landlords, you are wonderful, be kind, be gentle, be generous, all the kind of spiritual values, inner change that CoFSA is talking about, inner change. Vinoba wanted inner change of the landlords. Unless you are driven by compassion and kindness and generosity, you cannot do it. So Vinoba was moved by love, and he wrote his biography, and it's called Moved by Love. And so in those 2 months of walking from Telangana to New Delhi, he got thousands of acres of land. And every newspaper, everything, Vinoba became a hero. And I was 17 years old, young monk, a Jain monk. Fortunately, I was in Delhi when Vinoba arrived. And Vinoba was offered by Prime Minister and Indian government a big guest house to stay. Vinoba said, no, I'm not staying in the government guest house. I will stay on the banks of the river Jamuna, where Mahatma Gandhi is buried. He had a tomb. He had a kind of grave. I'll have a tent, and I'll stay in that. And the Prime Minister came to see him in his tent. And so being the change, being an example, not just talking about it, but being an example. And fortunately, there was some connection, and my Jain guru and I went to see him there. And I was very impressed, and I talked to him, Vinoba. I was 17 years old. And eventually I left my monkhood and joined Vinoba, but that's a different story. And so Vinoba, after Delhi, went to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, Orissa, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and I left monkhood and I joined him in Kerala especially. And all over India, Gujarat, Rajasthan, everywhere, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, north, south, east, west, center, all over India for 10 years. That's a dedication. How many of us are prepared to dedicate our lives like that? And can you imagine how many thousands of miles he walked? More than 100,000 miles. People say, Satish, you are amazing. You walked from Delhi to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, 8,000 miles. If you compare with my guru's walk, 8,000 miles was nothing. 100,000, more than 100,000 miles he walked in 10 years. All over India, south, north, east, west, central, everywhere. But avoiding Delhi. Delhi only once he went in the beginning, but after that he didn't go. He said, landlords live in the villages, so I will go in the villages. And can you imagine the amount of acres of land he got in donations? 4 million acres of land. I think it's a miracle. Even though when I think about it, my body is sort of shakes. 4 million acres of land given to him to distribute to the landless, poor, untouchable, low caste, lowest of the lower, living out of the village, and distributed them, and no ownership. He said, no ownership. You have only relationship with the land. No ownership. Nobody owns the land. And he never said a negative, critical word to any landlord. Never said you are bad or you are capitalist or you are landlord. No. Please be kind. Please be generous. Look after your workers. Just kindness of words. Moved by love, as he said. And so I think that's a radical love. It's easy to love somebody you like. It's easy to love somebody you agree with. It's easy to love somebody who are your kindred spirit. But loving the landlords who are exploiting the landless and subjugating them, and still he loved them. And landlords joined, big landlords joined him. I met many of them when I worked with him. 4 million acres of land he distributed. And this was his principle. He said, if you want to change, inner change, you have to have inner change within yourself. You can't change other people's inner change unless you change.